The streets are talking. You are now listening to The Box Out, Tri-State area basketball talk at its best. And now your hosts, Kahlil Thomas and Jason Cordner. Let's get it.
From NJ to BK and the world, this is The Box Out here on the One Podcast Network YouTube channel. My name is Kahlil Thomas. Joining me in just a few minutes from Brooklyn, New York will be Jason Cordner. And, we had the intention of doing a show Sunday. Obviously, my household got sick, so I couldn't do it. We were going to do it last Thursday, but I said, let's wait until we get through the All-Star Saturday, talk about that. We didn't do it on Sunday. So my thought was, okay, let's do a postmortem of the All-Star game on a normal night on Thursday. Here we are today. There's been a lot of conversation since the All-Star game on Sunday night about what to do to the All-Star game. What can you do to fix it? What can you do to adjust it to make it more competitive, to make it a destination viewing experience for fans, a destination place for players to go and actually give a shit about the game. A lot has been thrown around, but I can say this, right? I am 40 years old. I've watched a lot of All-Star games in my life. I grew up in an era where All-Star games actually felt like meant something, right? If we go back to when I kind of started paying attention to basketball for real, not just watching basketball and shots being made and guys, but actually pay attention. The Magic Johnson All-Star game after he announced he had HIV, that was a big one. Pretty much any All-Star game in the 1990s, I felt like had a big feel to it, where you knew players were going to play hard, where you knew players were going to give the ultimate effort because it's East versus West, right? Guys had chips on their shoulders. Obviously, Michael Jordan always had a chip on his shoulder. We knew that. If you watched The Last Dance, you knew Michael Jordan had a chip on his shoulder for every little thing that happened in his life. However, it seems as if now, and money comes into play. People talk about the amount of money NBA players make and how they don't see themselves. I think Bomani Jones said this on his podcast. They don't see themselves as basketball players. They see themselves as brands and a product. And last thing they want to do is go to an All-Star game and get embarrassed, get dunked on, get crossed up by a younger player, right? Seeing LeBron get crossed up by Tyrese Halliburton would have not completely killed his brand. Would it hurt his brand? A little bit. But 211-186, the East beat the West on Sunday. And 211 is a crazy number to begin with. I just, it's unheard of. As I welcome Mr. Cordner in from Brooklyn. What's going on, man?
Not much. You're right about that 211 because I picked on FanDuel. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
All right. I picked on FanDuel. I think I picked the West 175 to 150. So not only was I under, I got the wrong team winning as well.
Well, here's my thing. And there's been conversation about the All-Star game and what they can do to fix it and what needs to happen. What were your thoughts about the All-Star game? Well, I want to get flat out. Let's start. Forget that. Sunday night, 211-186. What were your thoughts on the All-Star game on Sunday?
I thought it was just what it's going to be. It's a showcase. People are going to do their little alley-oops. People were going for the MVP. That's one thing I'll give everybody. Everybody was really gunning for the MVP. And I just thought, I like how LeBron approached it. He just chilled back and let everybody do all the dirty work. And it's just a showcase. It's a showcase to show folks that, hey, who probably don't see Karl Anthony Towns play that much, people who probably don't see Halliburton play as much. That's how I looked at it. In terms of about being competitive and things like that, I don't really think you can make the game competitive because I think at this point, we all know everyone's friends. No one's really going for it like how they did, like how Kobe went for it or Dwayne Wade or Jordan. Those guys, that's not their mind frame anymore. So I think they should have stuck with the old format where they had last couple of years where you have a pickup game amongst the All-Stars. This East-West thing, I really wasn't feeling it that much.
Yeah, it's one of those things where shout out to Bruce, John, what's going on? Thanks for watching.
Mhm.
It. I get it. Like I understand that the players don't want. Like it's a couple days away from their houses, a couple days away in a city. It was Indianapolis, so we ain't talking about Vegas or like a major city. From Indianapolis.
They
However,
call it Nap Town for a reason.
Naptown. That's exactly perfect place. Naptown. But I just feel like you made a good point. Everybody went for MVP. Like everybody wanted to get the MVP award. Everybody was going for theirs. But when you see, was it Luka who shot the half court shot or the beyond half court shot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Luka literally just took the inbound and just shot it 70 feet. Didn't even try to bring the ball up. That type of shit right there is like, come on. You're not even trying the ball. You're just here, just like, okay. That one, once again, Luka and Jokic just pretty much going back and forth, and then boom. And like, what are we doing? Like, what do you want to play? Like, if you don't want to play, that's fine. Go home. Just don't come. Just don't bother showing up. But at least put in just a little bit of effort in this game. And I know the NBA is going to go, ratings were up 54%. People gave a shit. It was a hugely viewed game, and we had the alternate cast, and I get it.
It's because football's over, and it was the only sport on Sunday night.
Yeah, perfect. The Super Bowl was last week. That was it.
Last week, yeah.
Now it's NBA, NHL. Scratch that. NBA, MLB, NHL. Like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing now. Is there a way to fix it? I think that's the thing now. Can we fix the NBA All-Star game?
I don't think so. I think it's just going to continue to be a showcase, and folks are going to go for their stats and pat them up and try to get that Kobe Bryant MVP award. I think that's the only thing that's going to happen from this.
So, John made a point. He said it's not about the fans; it's about the players, which is true. The players thinking they're entertaining the fans, and
right.
I don't know how entertaining that game was. It wasn't entertaining at all. I don't see what's entertaining about guys just like sitting there watching guys go around them, not going for rebounds, just letting guys shoot. Someone made a mention of like paying players the winning. Is there enough money that these players aren't making to make them play hard in NBA All-Star game?
If they didn't care about the in-season tournament, what makes you think they're going to care about the All-Star when usually the ones who make the All-Star team are usually higher paid players?
Well, I think it was Howard Bryant on Bomani Jones's podcast said that, back in the day, guys wanted to get the All-Star game because that was where their money came from. Though that was incentives, and only big guys were making money. Only the Magics, the Birds, the Dr. J's, the major players were making money. Everybody else is not making a lot of money. So to get an NBA All-Star team, one, bonus, and two, if you won, you got more money. So that was the catalyst to make those games in the 80s so bad. They make them like, oh shit, this is a real game.
Yep.
Are we at the point where maybe you pivot? They pivoted from the draft, the fantasy draft. They went back to East-West. Universal League now. Do you move to a world versus U.S. format and go, all world guys go up against, and let's just go for broke?
You know what? If they did that, the U.S. would get embarrassed, and then our perception about American basketball would be dampered for a very long time. I think that'd be a terrible idea, because I think the world would expose a U.S.-led All-Star team, unless LeBron's going to want to play 40 minutes in an All-Star game, and same thing for Steph Curry. But other than that, they'll get embarrassed. That would not be a good idea.
Well, I'm trying. In my head, I was thinking about that idea. I'm like, there's players that we forget that actually aren't U.S. citizens, that are U.S. citizens or were born in other places that could play for other countries. The world team, and obviously you got your Jokic's, you got your Lukas, you got your Giannis. you got a lot of other players who could go, I'm going to play with that team. I want to play with Luka and Jokic and Giannis and go up against the American team. The world team, if you really think about it, and you said it, they would beat the U.S.'s ass. It would be bad to see that game.
It'll be bad. It'll be really bad. Because you think about it, Kilgore, what's the name in Oklahoma? He's Canadian, so you're gonna add the Canadian guys to that team as well. We'll get it bad. It'll be bad. It'll be really bad.
Well, you can go North American team and keep the U.S., Canada, and you can get Jaime Jaquez from Mexico and combine.
That's the only way. That's the only way we'll compete. We'll be able to compete. That's the only way. If it's U.S. versus everybody gonna whoop our butts.
Bruce, the NBA products like products that I sold on Temu. They look good on the website, but they are trash when you receive them. I almost got played out on Temu because I saw like a podcast set with some faders, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. How much is that?" That's $279. Oh man, I could afford that. $2.79. I was like, I could buy that, and I thought, oh yeah, Temu probably shouldn't fuck with that. Just putting that out there. But All-Star Saturday night was a lot better. Listen, the main event was Steph Curry, Sabrina Ionescu. That did not disappoint at all. I thought Sabrina really had him. I think Steph got to that center role, and I was like, this is getting dicey. And he pulled it out 1 by 3. How big was that for the WNBA to one? She shot from the NBA 3-point line. She shot with the NBA basketballs, and she lost by 3. How important is that for the WNBA?
It was a very important showcase because it shows you like they can compete as well. And like she alluded to, like next year, let's bring the Splash Brothers versus her and Clark from because she'll be in the WNBA by then, right? She'll be the #1 pick. Run it back next year with teams. I definitely think they should expand upon it. And I thought this. I'm not saying this should have been the last event because we're going to talk about this. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about the slam dunk contest. But I like how it came after the 3-point shootout, where like we know if Steph was in net, he would have probably won. Even though I thought that was the best first round period in the history of the 3-point contest. But I really like how Sabrina showed for herself, and I really like how when Steph was like, "Wait a minute, I could get her. I'm gonna catch her." Because at first, like you said, I thought he wasn't gonna catch her, but when after he hit the center shot, it was lights out after that.
Kenny Smith, per usual, at the All-Star game, opened his mouth, say some dumb shit every Saturday night. Speaking of Sabrina, she should have shot from the women's line. That would have been a fair contest. I still root for Sabrina. She should have shot from the 3-point line that women shoot from. He made a point on Stephen A. Smith's podcast that was much ado about nothing, and that he roots for her, and that meant nothing. But in the moment, and even today, it was a really bullshit comment he made, and it was a real dumb comment. Because I'm sorry, Sabrina Ionescu almost beat Steph Curry at his line at his game.
Yeah,
you know how big a deal was that? And obviously, it was almost a week past, so we can kind of go past it a little bit. But how bad was that comment that Kenny made?
It was pretty bad. That comment sounded like somebody who doesn't watch the WNBA. Because even though their 3-point line is closer, they still be banging it from the NBA range. So that's somebody who probably needs to watch a little bit more of the product. It goes back to what we always said. Houston Comets need to come back because clearly he needs to watch some Comets games if they bring him back. But I think it was a bad comment. He's probably ignorant, not realizing, hey, this girl's been jacking up threes from the NBA from a long time. Damn it, she trained under Kobe, for Christ's sakes.
Kenny Smith does watch the NBA. He should focus on his struggling beard. Thank you, Bruce. That made me feel good. Other events, skills competition. Listen, I'm one of the few people that actually likes a skill competition. I'm a nerd.
I liked it.
It's cool. Indiana team won. I kind of saw that. When Miles Turner hit that 3 to start, I was like, they got it. I want to talk about the slam dunk contest. And it was my wife and I anniversary Saturday. I got back in time for the slam dunk contest. I watched everything after the fact, but I was home to watch the slam dunk contest live.
Okay.
I watched my brother-in-law, who's here watching babysitting my kids.
Mm-hmm.
He was very into it, right? He was very into it. He's like, oh, that's a really cool dunk, blah, blah, blah. And this is a guy who doesn't watch a lot of sports, right?
Okay.
I think he watches sports when he comes to my house. That's a sports thing. I was not impressed because, one, all the dunks were exactly the same. There was no variety. There was nothing special. And I looked it up the other day. Mac McClung got cut by the Magic.
He's back in the C League, the G League. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he got cut before All-Star Saturday night. So he's technically not even on the Asiago, whatever, the Magic team. So the hell? So we have a G League free agent winning the NBA All-Star Slam Dunk Contest. Bruce said in the chat, I want to see what you said because I agree with Bruce. I think the dunk contest is dead, and I think we should just get rid of it.
I won't go that far. I think what you need to do, shout out Jaylen Brown, I think you need to make all-stars only participate in this contest. That's the only way you fix this.
Shout out Jaylen Brown. There you go.
He tried. He gets the A for effort from me. I think that the only way to save this is we put Zion on a diet. We get him back out there. He starts slamming. Other than Zion, I think you have to mandate to only all-stars. Only all-stars be able to...
Almost choked on my coffee. Okay. Damn.
Sorry, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But it's the only way to fix this event.
Stephen A said that he blames LeBron for never doing it. Listen, I don't blame guys for not wanting to do it because if they miss a bunch of dunks and look bad, it's embarrassing. So I get it. However,
I gotta blame LeBron.
I feel like is it guys are scared? Is it fear, or is it just like I'm just going to All-Star Saturday night to chill, hang out? If I'm single, find me a chick. I'm not trying to do no work on Saturday night. Is that what it is?
I think that's exactly what it is. A lot of networking, a lot of partying, a lot of BS and going on. They just want to chill. They ain't not about the hard work. You know, Kobe went out there, did his thing. Jordan, we all know he did his thing for many years. Remember when Vince Carter announced that he was going to do it? It was must-see TV before he even participated. And when he came out that year, and it set the dunk contest on fire, it hasn't been the same, man. We don't have that premier athlete that wants to do it anymore. LeBron never did it. Zion can't stay healthy to do it. We don't have that guy.
But Dwight Howard did it twice.
And I didn't even like his. First of all, what he wanted with that Superman thing, he said he kind of like, it was terrible.
He kind of went like that. Just dropped it in. He didn't actually dunk.
Shout out to Nate Robinson who gave a shit and actually
Big Nate. I remember I was in college for that. I remember that was a good one. But that was Nate wasn't a star. Nate's a rotation player. I feel like
he's an athlete. He's an athlete. Yeah.
I just feel like, and Bruce said in the chat, and I texted you too, the judges were garbage. The judges sucked.
They were half asleep.
If you notice, and I feel like Dominique is getting more and more ornery by this year, he's getting more and more like, no, not impressed. Like Dominique just seems like he's not with it no more. He's like, nah, y'all trash.
Well, at least he's honest about it.
No, the one dunk that I think was it McClung's first dunk or second dunk that was really good, and he just lowballed the
first
shit
one.
out of him.
The first one, yeah. It
was like a 47.
Because the first one was better. The first one was better than the next two he did.
Yeah, and they gave him like a 47. I'm like, what the hell? But you gave my man like a 48.9 for something bullshit. I'm like, okay, whatever. You mentioned 3-point shootout. I love 3-point shootout. That's the only thing I play in 2K in the All-Star weekend. I don't play the All-Star game. I play the 2-point shootout. That's always fun. I think the bigger question is NBA All-Star weekend still a big thing to this day? Because I remember I told the story. My ex-girlfriend, we had our anniversary on. We had 2 anniversaries on All-Star weekend. anniversary All-Star weekend years ago, I made sure we went to dinner at 4:30. We were back in the hotel room by 7. I said, don't bother me till 10:30 or 11 o'clock whenever it was over. That was must-see TV for me. Are we at that point where the weekend as a whole, when it start Friday, celebrity game, Rising Stars game, Saturday night, Sunday, is it still must-see, or is it one of those things like, if I'm around, I'll check it out, but I'm not going to run home and go check it out now?
I want to say it's in between. Like, I will still check out the 3-point contest because I thought that was good. And like you said, like we're NBA nerds. We love the talent. We love the skills showcase as well. I would say I will still check it out. Next year is in LA. It's going to be at the Clippers' new arena. I think Bomber and I think the league will think of ways to salvage Saturday. I have no faith in Sunday. Sunday I'll miss.
Mm-mm.
I will miss the All-Star game going forward. Like, I wouldn't care two craps about it. But Saturday night is still something to me because it's still they competing. At least Saturday night they're competing, especially in 3-point contest. They were really going at it. Like, I couldn't believe the 24s across the board in the first round.
Players these days aren't as committed to the game as before. Listen, valid point. I mean, we talk about All-Star games. All-Star game used to be the thing that guys wanted to go to show out and compete against other players. Like, you're competing against other players from other teams. You only see them twice a year. Right. You may not see them at all. We're in a low management error. You may not play these guys a lot at all because they might get rested when you play them. It used to mean something. I feel like now, I don't think it's a commitment thing. I feel like it's more of, I'm going to pick and choose when I'm going to play and when I'm going to play hard. And I think that's the problem. I think they're like, not tonight.
Don't forget, now they also get a week off too. Before, it was just a couple days and it's back to playing NBA games on Tuesday. Now they get a whole week. So they're probably, scheduling their, time to meet up with the jump offs and all this other stuff. And they're just relaxing right now.
They're the Indianapolis jump offs.
Well, no, they're flying. They're flying the one from LA and everywhere into Indianapolis.
Wait, so it's not going to jump offs in the city they're in. They're like, yeah, I'm in Indianapolis. Just come out here. Just come out here.
Oh, absolutely.
That's sad. That's sad when you got to fly your pieces out to you. There's nothing in that city directly. I mean, Indianapolis, there might be like 4, 5, right? Maybe.
But they were taken from them Friday night.
Bruce jump offs. Wow, Club Shay Shay. Apparently we're Club Shay Shay now, which I'm cool with. If we can get Monique on here, I'll be good. Bruce mentioned earlier too, there's no real young stars people want to see. People have LeBron fatigue. Do you think that's playing a role in this too?
I kind of blame the networks on that. Like, why aren't the Timberwolves being shown more? Why aren't the Thunder being shown? Why aren't the Pacers being shown more? Like, every time I turn on the TV, it's the Lakers, it's the Bucks, not even Boston. Like, I barely see Boston on television. It's always the same 4 or 5 teams. So I don't think it's LeBron fatigue. It's more like a lot of people don't know who the next star is. Like, a lot of people don't know who Anthony Edwards is. A lot of people don't know Tyrese Halliburton. So, I guess this is why they use weekends like this to, showcase their talents.
And Bruce did blame the networks, TNT, TBS, TNT, ESPN, because, like you said, same teams every week. You got to see the Lakers, even though they stink. You got to see the Bucks, even though they stink. When we get to them in a second. And the young stars like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be showcased a lot more than seeing old as LeBron James every Friday night at 10:30 on ESPN. I think.
Speaking of which. Did you hear Doc Rivers' comments about how he tried to persuade Kawhi Leonard to keep him instead of trading for Paul George?
No. Whoa, I missed that. What was that?
Yeah. Doc Rivers admitted on, I forgot where he admitted on, but he admitted that he was trying to tell Kawhi, like, hey, we should keep this guy. I think he's going to be developed into a star. And when he was like, no, I kind of want Paul George.
All right. That worked out.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Doc, we're going to look at the second half of the NBA season, preview it. It restarts tonight. I do want to get to the big news that happened in your borough. The Nets fired Jacques Vaughn as head coach. Listen, I went on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it. I kind of went off because I feel like you put Jacques in a really odd spot because you trade Harden, you trade Irving, you trade Durant. So you already know, okay, we're starting over again. We're going to rebuild again. You give him an extension. The extension meaning, hey, this is going to take some time. You have some time because we're going to give you a whole bunch of fucking parts that may not work very well together, but we're going to restart this all over again. And then to fire him, and they lost by 50 to the Celtics before the All-Star break. I get it. The Celtics are a way better team than the Nets. And Sean Marks said exactly the same thing after he fired Vaughn. I felt like to fire Jacques Vaughn was a bad look for Brooklyn because they're looking for a silver bullet in a situation where there is none. And you have to start from scratch. And now you're bringing Kevin Ollie, who honestly, he coached UConn to a national championship. I didn't like him as a coach of UConn, even though they won a championship.
But that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, and now they're like, the search starts for the new coach. Now, are you going to go to a first-year coach like a Steve Nash or Kenny Atkinson, or are you going to go to an experienced coach like a Lionel Hollins or someone like that you brought in to Brooklyn before? I felt like this whole firing was bullshit, and I felt really bad for Jacques Vaughn because it wasn't his fault. The organization failed him as head coach. What are your thoughts?
No, I totally agree. It sucked that he did it during the All-Star break. If they thought about, at least let him finish out the year. If that was the, fire him now doesn't really do anything for your organization. Doesn't do anything for the team because you're in the predicament that you're in. For some reason, they stuck it out with it was a lot of series of bad decisions, like the Ben Simmons. Even though you wanted Harden wanted out, you didn't have to oblige and trade for Ben Simmons. You could ask for more compensation. They got a couple of bad contracts coming off the books. That's going to help. And I'm just not sure the direction they're going to go in. I think they should have, like we said earlier, they should have did what they did a couple of years ago, take on some bad contracts and try to rebuild that way. They didn't want to go that route. I think they're going to be in purgatory for a couple of seasons before they're able to turn around. And I think maybe they should have looked to get rid of Cam. Try to move these guys and try to get some assets back and really hit the reset. Like they were kind of playing around with the reset this year. It kind of burned them, and Vaughn had to be the scapegoat for it.
So, John, Brooklyn made a bad decision letting Kyrie coach the team in the past. He had too much power for someone who wasn't committed himself. Listen, you had Kenny Atkinson, and I stand by this, and I know you and I are on the same page with Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny Atkinson was that guy. He coached hard. His players respected him. I think his players that he had, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, who was the other guy they had?
Russell. They had Russell.
Allen Crabbe. But they had a really cool team, young guys, vets, and they played hard. And then you bring in Kyrie, you're bringing KD. KD was out that first year, so we don't even count KD's first year at Brooklyn. Kyrie forced Kenny out because Kyrie did not like Kenny Atkinson and did not like being coached, which, head coach, that's your job. You fired Kenny, you bring in Steve Nash, that failed. And then you let Jacques coach. And then Jacques, this is what happens. Everything blew up, everybody left, you're left with the bomb dropped, and you're left with whatever's left. And whatever's left is Mikal Bridges, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, insert other guys here. I'm not counting Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is non-factor. It's a shitty team.
Does Ben Simmons get picked up by a new team next season? Yes or no?
The problem is he has, and I did this with NBA. I was looking at their contract. I actually picked the Nets to NBA so I can move them back to New Jersey when the season's over. So I'm doing that this weekend. I'm very, very, very excited about my weekend of doing that. But you would have to trade him. Who's going to pick up that contract? And I think I got to look this up real quick, how much money's left on it. But I think it's like another 2 years. So you would have to find a sucker to pick him up and take on that contract.
Detroit?
Detroit got their own issues with guys beating the shit out of each other outside for games. So they got to figure that stuff out first. But if you could find a sucker to pick up that contract, I will pull that trigger. But you can't bring him back. And the fact that they made such a big deal of Ben Simmons going into the season, like, oh, Ben, he looks good. He looks good. Mm-hmm. He's ready to go. Knowing damn well You're talking about Ben Simmons in September.
He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
And he's already missed, what, 25, 30 games for a back? I feel bad. I feel you never want coaches to lose their jobs, especially someone as cool and nice. Like watching Jacques Vaughn win or lose post game.
He was good. He was good.
The most calming thing in the world is watching Jacques Vaughn post game press conference, because whether they win or lose, same dude. Hey, Megan Triplett, how you doing? I'm like, same guy. I love this guy. But Brooklyn has no direction. I put on X. I feel like you give him a shitty team with an over the hill with a shot, completely shot Ben Simmons in a rebuild situation, and you fire him because you lost by 50 to Boston, who might be the best team in the Eastern Conference before the All-Star break. So everyone's already checked out because they're like, all right, where are you going? I'm going to Cancun. Where you going? Oh, you're going to DR? All right, they're already done. Right. They fire him. It's such bullshit how this works. And Sean Marks still got his job. Even though he put this team together, Sean Marks is going to be able to pick his fourth coach. It's crazy. Insanity. It's insanity what's happening in Brooklyn.
Sean Marks is probably promising ownership, like, hey, I'm going to get you some new stars. Don't you worry. Just give me time. No one's coming.
So Ben Simmons actually has 1 year left on his contract at $40.3 million. So he isn't expiring. That's the silver lining. He's expiring. 40 is a lot of money. And the NBA, I think the NBA salary cap might jump a little bit next year.
Yeah.
It's not, because I think their TV deal's up when? After next season? Next year.
After next season, yep.
That's Detroit. I think you're right on that. I think Detroit might work for that.
Well, I mean, it's expiring contract. Somebody will take it.
But the problem with that is if someone's dumb enough to take Ben Simmons, what are you dumb enough to take back? I think that's the other question. Because you got to have the salaries to match up. You already say this is $40.3 million. What do you have to take back in return for that 40.3? I think that's the biggest issue too. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. But you look at this roster: Ben Simmons, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, who we still don't know is a star or not. I still don't know what Mikal Bridges is yet. Finney-Smith, who should have been traded. Dennis Schroeder, who I think low-key sixth man, I think good. Claxton's a free agent. Thaddeus Young, who I forgot was still in the league. Noah Clowney, Dennis Smith Jr., Lonnie Walker. It's not a good team. So it is what it is. I want to go back to Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is 3-7, has coached in Milwaukee, and
he did win the All-Star game. He's technically four. He won the All-Star game.
Eastern Conference All-Star coach. Unbelievable. It did come out that he might have knew ahead of time of Adrian Griffin's demise because he was kind of consulting with the Bucks at the time of the season. So not only did he probably know Griffin was getting fired, not only did he probably campaign for the job, but he also screwed ESPN out of their number one broadcasting team and say, I'm staying for at least a year, and you duck out.
Wow.
How big a scumbag does Doc Rivers look like right now?
He looks like the opportunist, the ultimate opportunist that he is. He looks very bad here. But he knew what he was doing the whole time. He knew he was going to be a coach again real soon, and he was just waiting and buying his time. And now we're here, and it seems like the team is not responding to him. So it looks even worse now at 3-7.
I think the problem is too. It's mid-season, so you have a coach change in the middle season, and it's not like you have an interim coach who was the assistant who can kind of carry the same strategy, the same plays. It's a new coach who's trying to implement something on the fly to players who never really play with them. Although he got Danilo Gallinari, so he's with the Bucks now. So Gallinari is a Buck now. I think this whole thing is, I don't want to judge him yet, but I'm starting to. I want to see how bad this gets. If we're looking at the Bucks in that play-in spot, I'll start judging at that point.
Well, I don't think they're gonna sink. They got so many wins. I don't think they're gonna sink lower than 4. I think 3 can be had, but I think they're not going to sink. Make that 5. They're not going to sink lower than 5.
Okay, right now they're 3. They're a game and a half above the Knicks at 4. We'll get the Knicks in a second too. They're about 4 games from 6, 4.5 from 7. So it's not out of the question Milwaukee really sinks and really falls off. I can completely see that. Although I'm not banking on it, said, but it's possible. There are games in play right now. We're back in action. Brooklyn down by 11. Kevin Ollie's debut as head coach down by 11 to Toronto. Then third quarter, the Knicks up 73-59 over the Sixers. They're in the third quarter.
What?
Third quarter as well. Indiana up by 21. Third quarter tie game, Orlando, Cleveland. At the half, Phoenix up by 3 at the end of one quarter. OKC up by 2 on the Clippers. Also at the end of the first quarter, Pelicans over the Rockets.
What's the TNT game?
The TNT game is Dallas, Phoenix.
They try to throw us off the scent with that one.
I forgot how many games are. Yeah, there's a lot of games tonight. I'm like running through. I'm like, I'm running out of breath. The other TNT game, Golden State, LA, again. We just saw that. San Antonio, Sacramento at 10. Denver, Washington when it show's over. Utah, Charlotte when it show's over. A lot going on. The Knicks up by almost 20 on the Sixers. There is some talk of the Knicks losing Julius Randle for the season. He's not sure if his shoulder's going to need surgery. OG Odonabe might not be ready for the regular season. There's a lot happening with the Knicks. Here's my question to you as a fellow Knicks fan. And you are a well-adjusted Knicks fan, unlike myself.
Mm-hmm.
Should I be worried?
I'm not worried at all. I'm not worried at all. I think I'm more worried that Randall might be a little scared to come back. He might be. I don't think he's gonna be as aggressive as he once was in the paint. I think he might be back to jacking up a bunch of threes when he come back. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about how his game's gonna be effective when he come back. Because when he went in and he saw the dislocation of the shoulder, that was a pretty hard move. I don't know if he's gonna be that aggressive when he comes back. I do think he'll be back by April. I think everything will be fine. I think the Knicks will be fine. But getting Bojanovic, this is why you got him. Because he could play the power forward position for you right now. And you can still use his system within Brunson and everyone else. So it still works a little bit. You might not get the productivity, but I think the Knicks will be just fine.
I think, too, at the 4 in the NBA, you're seeing a lot more 4 step out and stretch the floor. I feel like Bogdanovic fits that bill. So you can see a lineup, and I'm not pushing this lineup, but you can see a lineup of a Brunson, DiVincenzo, Bogdanovic, Precious, Isaiah Hartenstein. Has your final 4 minutes. Yeah. And I would love that lineup. That's a lineup that I would play. And then Precious, you can put Precious at the 3. Those 2 guys, Precious and Bogdanovic, you can move them around a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm still waiting to see Alec Burks, what his role is. Because remember, once everybody comes back, I feel like that's when you're gonna figure out, like, hey, who's doing what, right?
Right.
Tibbs is gonna have a 10-man rotation, but he plays 9 guys. Is he gonna go 10 and go? We got 10.
I think now he goes 10 because what Burks does, what Fournier didn't do is play defense. Burks will give you a little defense. I think now he might open up that rotation to 10 and be in his best interest.
He has,
especially the way people.
Knicks first round exit without going left random.
Nah, I don't think that.
I don't believe that. I mean, they have to get at least the 4 seed. They need to have home court. I think that's the important thing. You have to stay in that top 4. I think if they hit 5 or 6, I think that then becomes kind of dicey. Yeah. I can see them advancing to the second round without Randall completely.
Exactly. I can see that. If he needs. Now, it depends. If Mitch comes back, all bets are off. I think they can definitely get the second round without Randall.
I don't think you need Mitch. I don't think you need Mitch back this year.
Well, they talk about he's like progressing rapidly. He might be ready by April.
I mean, if you get him back, great. Like, I'm not saying you don't need Mitchell Robinson. I would love to have Mitchell Robinson. But if he's not there, I think Hartenstein's playing well enough. I think Precious, even though he's 6'8", he's kind of small. He could play at a 5 if you really need him to.
Yeah, he'll be aggressive.
Jericho Sims, also tiny. He can also play the 5 as well. He's like 6'8", 6'9", too. I mean, you could throw the ghost of Taj Gibson out there for like 5 minutes. See what you get out of that.
Keep getting them checks, Taj.
Listen, he can get checks, but Tony Snell can't get a check. I'm trying to figure out how the hell that's possible.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Tony Snell still can get a job, but Taj Gibson, let's keep bringing him back. Let's just keep running it back with Taj Gibson. Looking at the NBA going into the second half of the season, Minnesota, OKC, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Suns, the Pelicans, that's your top 6 in the West. And in play-in position, you have Dallas, Sacramento, LA, Golden State. Of the 4 I just mentioned, Dallas, Sacramento, LA, Lakers, and Warriors. Of those 4 teams, who do you see maybe making a move into 6 to get out of play-in spots?
I like what I'm seeing from the Golden State. I like what I'm seeing from Golden State. My bet is probably Golden State and the Lakers are battling for that. They're gonna try to get out of there. I think LeBron's definitely gonna turn it up. AD's been pretty healthy for the most part. If he stays healthy and a motivated LeBron, they're gonna move up in the rankings a little bit. But I would say watch out for the Warriors. I think the Warriors are figuring things out, and I think they're ready to make another push.
You know what? And Bruce said the same thing. I'm gonna pivot. They've won 6 in a row. They made some good trades. I think Dallas can get out of the 6th spot, the 7th spot, and move up. I think Dallas.
Really?
You got Luka, who's playing good basketball. Kyrie looks motivated. I think
this is the quietest. This is the quietest Kyrie's been this long, this deep in the season in a long time.
I think picking up a Grant Williams. I think even the Daniel Gafford trade from Washington, which I forgot about when we talked about the trade deadline. That was an undercover trade because that's one thing they were missing. They don't have a lot of size, and they were kind of missing that. They were depending on younger guys. Dwight Powell is just like a guy. I really do think. I think getting Gafford, getting Grant Williams. Sorry, not getting Grant. I'm looking at the list. They traded.
Get rid of Grant Williams.
PJ Williams. PJ Washington. Woo. PJ Washington. That's a big move, especially when he can stretch the floor really well too. So I think Washington and Gafford gives him some size, gives him some length, and it gives him another shooter in PJ Washington to stretch the floor. I really do think Dallas can make a run. They've won 6 in a row. So obviously Jason Kidd's doing something right. So I think Dallas might be the best candidate for that right now.
That Western Conference is tough, man. Those some good teams. 1 to 10, there's some good teams.
Bruce, Kyrie is 1 vaccine away from going ballistic. I believe that. I could see that happening again. Maybe
not in Dallas.
We might have to get like a measles shot or something. He don't want to get the measles shots and mumps. Mumps are important. In the East, Miami, Orlando, Chicago, Atlanta. Chicago, I'm taking out of the conversation right now because Chicago is not doing shit without Zach LaVine.
Nah.
So let's just throw them out. They're gonna fall off. Miami, Orlando, Atlanta. Of those 3, who can move out?
It's clearly Miami, but I think Miami likes to play. They like the real world road rules challenge. They like to stay at the bottom and work their way out. They just like to go in the pit and just take people with them. So, yeah, my case is Miami, but either way, Miami doesn't care who they got to play. Celtics in the first round.
Wait, who's the dude from Real World Road Rules who's on every? I don't watch it. I haven't watched it in like a decade.
But he's still on it.
Who's the dude that's on it every season? He just comes back and
Johnny Bananas.
Who? No, the other one from Boston. CT. CT's always there. Miami's the CT of the NBA. They just want to keep going back to. They want to keep going back to playing. We get to playing.
We don't care
because Heat culture is about playing tournaments. That's what their culture is about. Like
if you did a case study, it's remarkable that they lost that first playing game last year. So they were down to their last game and somehow made it all the way to the NBA Finals. That's insane.
I love that. They're the CT of the NBA. I enjoy that. What are your thoughts on Phoenix? Because Charles Barkley said something. Charles Barkley says something. No disrespect to Kevin Durant. Kevin's a follower. He's not a leader. He's proven that in all of his stops. Devin Booker's a hell of a player also. I think he's going to have to take the initiative and take the Suns team to the next level. But I said the same thing with Boston. One of your guys has to step forward. He, as in Devin, has to step forward. And for me, for Phoenix successful, it has to be Booker. Charles Barkley's not wrong. Kevin Durant is not a leader.
He's not a vocal leader.
Yeah, but at some point, I'm sorry, you've been in the league 15 years. Like you have to be. You're a top 15 player in the NBA, maybe top 20. Mm-hmm. At some point, you have to open your mouth. I get playing and showing an example to your teammates, but you have to open your mouth eventually, right? I think that's one thing that a lot of younger players figure out year 10. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to be, I'm going to show my leadership in my play. At some point, you're like, guys, let's get this shit together.
Right.
He's never going to be that, but can Devin Booker be that? I think that's the issue.
I think Booker has it in him. They have a good coach who's very underrated as well. So I think they're going to be fine. I think they're coming along just fine. KD, he just wants to hoop. He's a hooper. He doesn't care about leadership, any of that. He just want to hoop.
He don't care about things like leadership and being vocal. He just wants to play ball. Like, that's great, but
that's him, man.
Like, on that team, there's not one guy who I'm like, leader. That guy's going to get them all together, bring him in. Like, I think Frank Vogel said he's vocal when he needs to be vocal. But it doesn't work. True. Right? Eli Manning. I know Bruce is probably going to shit on this. So I'm just waiting for a Bruce comment in the chat. Eli Manning was not vocal. But his teammates always said Eli would get in the locker room and say some shit. And we'd be like, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept it moving. I've not heard that for one player that Kevin Durant's ever played with. Like, Kevin Durant took us aside and said, guys, let's get this shit right. Bruce just clowned you. Read the comment. He's trying to get that boardroom check.
He ain't lying.
That's some good money right there.
I was just about to say he got on Bruce Brown from making that prediction about the Celtics. So you're right. There you go. He knows what to be vocal.
I guess. I just don't see it.
He saw that sweep coming along. He saw that sweep coming a mile away.
I want to move to college basketball because I think this is a big story in our neck of the woods here in New York, New Jersey. Rick Pitino, who has never been one of my well-liked coaches. He's not on the level of John Calipari, but after this weekend, he's getting there. They blew a 19-point lead to Seton Hall and lost. St. John started the season very, very well in the Big East, and they've kind of completely fallen apart. And Pitino went off. I got to say, I'm trying to find the exact quote because he really just went off and pretty much said, the team sucks, the school sucks, the facilities suck.
Damn.
My guys are slow. They're not quick laterally, blah, 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 blah. And it just went off on St. John's basketball. The job that he took, and on the players that he recruited, a lot of these guys transferred in from St. John's. Transferred into Tucson, sorry. These are players he wanted, and now because they're having a tough streak, he's just shitting all over them. What were your thoughts when you heard what he said? And is this, and someone made a good point, is he angling for something else, maybe to leave and go to a better program with better facilities?
That's what it sounds like. He sounds like he's angling for a top-tier coaching job again. But I don't know if this is supposed to be motivation to the players because it's probably not. And my expectations for the Big East tournament just went down with this comment. So I don't know what Pitino maybe he sees coming back to New York as a mistake. And this is his way of trying to get out of it.
I mean, he should have stayed at Iona. Like, you're coming to St. John's, right? Carnesecca Arena, I've never been there. I'm not sure if you've ever been there. It's an on-campus arena. You know, you play at the Garden. They play at the Garden a lot. They played at UBS out in Belmont Park. So obviously, it's a smaller school. It's a Catholic school. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get the money that a UConn would get, even a Creighton would get. Right? It's a different situation. It's a private university over a public university. So they're a little bit more stingy with their money.
Mm-hmm.
You knew what you're getting into when you took the job, right? You were going by, I remember coaching in the Big East, Luke Carnesecca. I get it, but you knew better. Not to mention, you're shitting on the players. You picked them. You get these players on the team. So if they're slow, and there's no lateral movement, and Joel Soriano can't move fast enough, you picked him or convinced them to stay. They lost Posh Alexander, who transferred, I think, to Butler in Indiana because he didn't want to play for Pitino, probably. Pitino, star point guard from Iona, did not go to St. John's for Pitino. He went to like Miami somewhere, which tells me a lot in hindsight. He probably didn't want to go there with him either. So I don't understand what his rationale was, and he apologized kind of. It was a bullshit apology. But he's officially my number 2 behind Calipari. He has moved up above Mike Jarvis, old St. John's coach.
I like Mike. Mike was cool. He was cool.
Mike Jarvis.
He was in over his head, but he was cool.
And I don't understand how you're coaching in New York City with the prestige and the name recognition St. John's has in New York City. And you just flat out refuse to coach New York City. That bugs me out. To this day, and Mike Jarvis hasn't been coaching St. John's in like 20 years, I feel like. But to this day, that was arrogance to go, I know better. These players are garbage. I'm going to go recruit DC and like Maryland and bring them to New York. Meanwhile, you got a whole plethora of basketball players in your city who would probably stay home because they want to stay close to home. Who's like, well, I guess I'll go to UCLA.
Yep.
So Mike Jarvis is still on my list, but he's now 3. So Calipari, Pitino, Mike Jarvis. Maybe who was it? Bobby Gonzalez, old Seton Hall coach. He was a scumbag too. So that's where we are on Big East. Seton Hall did beat them. Seton Hall's not exactly still lighting the world on fire.
Yeah.
UConn seems to be the team to beat, although they lost to Creighton the other night. We had North
Carolina. Creighton put a whooping on them.
We had North Carolina falling to, I think it was Clemson. I don't know if Georgia Tech beat North Carolina and Duke. I think Houston lost to Iowa State early in the year. They got their win back on Monday. What does this tell you? That all these top teams are just falling every single week. We're seeing a top 5, top 10 team just fall. It just seems like even with UConn, there seems to be no favorite in college basketball right now.
There's definitely no favorite. There's definitely parity amongst the league. It's gonna be this tournament's gonna be madness because I don't know who's gonna win. It's gonna be a crapshoot, but I don't expect there's no dominant top 5 team in the league anymore. It's really wide open.
Speaking of, Rutgers lost 96-68 to Purdue, so that happened tonight.
And Rutgers, when they was like, what, they won 4 of the last 5 games?
Mm-hmm. Well, Rutgers, I think they're just holding water until they get Dylan Harper and I think another recruit from Jersey, a top 5 recruit. So they're kind of treading water because they know next year they're going to get really good. Yeah. So they're like, this is what we got. Sorry, wait till next year. Next season we're gonna be fire. But right now, no. Bruce is still saying UNC is going to win it. Are you taking UNC or are you taking the field, Jay?
Taking the field.
Damn, that was fast.
I'm taking the. I think Creighton. I think Creighton could beat UNC. I think Creighton could beat them, and I don't give up hope on UConn. I think there's still a slim chance they run it back to back.
Do you see a Big East team going to the Final Four? Because I do. I think UConn put some doubt in my heart the other night, getting smoked the way they smoked.
But they got smoked by another big East team. So you gotta chalk that to in season in conference play.
But so UConn's 24-2, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had the loss to Creighton. Do you remember who they lost to first this season?
No shit, no clue.
Seton Hall.
So there you go.
So no, but that put fear in my heart before, and then they kind of got back on track and like, okay, that's a little speed bump. And now this speed bump. So a team with some size, with some grit, I never thought Creighton would have that grit, but Creighton's gotten a little dirtier. Creighton feels like a Big East team now. You go with a team like Florida Atlantic, who that's all they do because they have to play that way because they're playing in the mid-major. I think UConn, a UNC, a Duke, Kansas fell to Kansas State last week. I think some of these teams that can body these, not to say blue bloods, but these better teams, they struggle with them. Clemson beat North Carolina because of that reason. Georgia Tech beat North Carolina and Duke because Damon Stoudemire's like, he got dogs on his team. If they face teams with dogs, I feel like those world's top teams are going to struggle.
It should make for a great tournament, though. It should be a great March coming up.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I'm also curious why St. Mary's is a thing still, because I've been seeing a lot of St. Mary's games on ESPN at like 11 o'clock at night, and I don't get it still. I still don't understand how they're good.
St. Mary's is the Lakers of ESPN college basketball coverage.
It's Gonzaga St. Mary's. Every Gonzaga St. Mary's game is always on.
After 10:30, that's what you're seeing.
That or like a Pac-12 after dark with Bill Walton, just talking nonsense for 2 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
Shout out to the Pac-12 last season. Sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yeah. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird next year between football and basketball when we see UCLA and UFC versus Penn State. Like, it's going to be weird.
Yeah, well, actually, okay. It's the Pac-2. I keep forgetting that. There's still 2 teams left in the Pac-12. Washington State, Oregon State. Washington State, Oregon State have control of the conference. So they're going to control everything that has to do with the conference, just those 2 teams.
It's going to be crazy.
I know. And they're like, well, I think the plan is they're going to rebuild the conference using the Mountain West. So
you might as well.
So I can see the Mountain West becoming a Pac-12 because the Pac-12 name still carries some weight. It is the Conference of Champions, quote unquote. You still want to keep that name around. You can't just lose. It's not like the Southwest Conference in the 1960s and 70s, but like SMU and Texas A&M. No one cared about that conference. The Pac-12 actually has history, so you might want to keep that around. Washington State, Oregon State, keeping that legacy alive is a little weird because they don't have a legacy. Legacy usually comes from UCLA, USC, Stanford, Cal, kind of. But the Pac-12 is still a thing for now. It's the Pac-2. That's what they call
Pac-2.
it. Pac-2. Real quick, got a couple minutes. Roman, The Rock, Cody, Seth. I'm watching because I'm curious to see where this all goes. I'm curious to see how it kind of develops and how the pivot is going to turn out. I did enjoy The Rock's promo on Friday.
Hollywood Rock is back.
Although he did this at the end, which I'm like, that's the wrong hand signal for the bloodline. Is this? He did this. I'm confused.
Well, I'm thinking 2 things are going to happen. One, they're either going to have a tag match, and that's going to be the main event for night 1. And 2, Cody and Roman battled out night 2. The Rock costs Roman the belt and sets up their.
I'm thinking that too. I'm thinking that's the key. God damn it, Bruce! AEW is fading. No, they're not.
They hired a top producer from WWE.
Yeah, because she worked with Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, and she's coming in. So they're like, let's get her writer. Kind of like with The Rock and Brian Gerwitz, same situation. Yeah. So like, let's get her writer from WWE that she worked with and bring her in here to help out here. Plus, they need more hands. Tony Khan,
they do. He's doing too much.
Yeah, because he books AEW, he books Ring of Honor. I feel like you gotta get some hands and help out. So AEW's not fading. They 50,000 tickets for Revolution Sting's last match. Their ratings are actually up, considering.
Forbidden Door is going to be at Arthur Ashe Stadium this year. I want to go to that.
Listen, I will take off. Well, actually, no. Forbidden Door is usually in June, right? That's not the summer.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean,
it definitely can't be July and August because they got to get ready for the Open. But For June, I'll go. I'll go to that. Because I need to
I
go
will
to an
take off work.
AEW event.
You see, me and Jason Cordner will be at Arthur Ashe Stadium in Flushing for Forbidden Door. Because I've yet to go to AEW show this whole time.
Same here. And they've been in Newark. They've been in Newark quite often.
Well, the first time it was supposed to be in Newark, COVID happened.
You're right.
The second time, I think Omicron happened. I'm like, I can't go there, Omicron. And then the third time, I was like, I just can't go. I'm so freaking out about people. So it's like, so I gotta go. So Flushing's gonna be the time to go. I think it's gonna be a good show. AEW's like the G League. No, it's not, Bruce. You're wrong. Jason, as always, great show, man.
Likewise.
So we will not be back next Thursday. I have a party to attend. So we'll be back next Sunday night, which is the beginning of March, my birthday month. Birthday celebration starts next week.
Ah, damn.
Next week, the month starts, party month. So we'll be back next Sunday for the show. Hopefully nothing happens. What we're going to do, and I'm just telling Jason this now, I think we might have to start pulling out emergency pods if anything happens between now and next Sunday. You down?
I'm down for that.
Okay, so if anything happens between now and next Sunday, because it is a long time, we will hop on YouTube, talk about it, see what happens. I don't think anything's going to happen, but you never know.
Well, you never know.
Doc Rivers might be fired by, 2 weeks. Or Sean Marks might hopefully lose his job because he deserves it. But we will see you in a week and a half here on the One Podcast Network. Shout out to Thomas out in Ireland. He's back home. We'll be back doing Live Free and Laugh Hard very, very soon. So shout out to my guy out there. For Jason Cordner, I'm Kahlil Simons. Thanks so much for watching, listening on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, what the hell ever. We'll see you on next Sunday night. Peace.
This has been The Box Out with Kahlil Thomas and Jason Cordner. Subscribe now for the best tri-state area basketball talk.